We're here today to talk about the fear of failure and overcoming the F-its. I can't say the F word right now in the first minute of a YouTube video. YouTube does not like it for their algorithm. I'm trying to get better at listening to what the algorithm wants. Anyway, before we dive in too deeply today, I did want to kind of just briefly mention, I understand a lot of the podcast episodes recently have been pretty heavy. We've been talking about some pretty heavy stuff. That's not all I want to talk about. It's just the stuff that's been really weighing on me and some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about that's kind of stigmatized a little bit. The whole reason I started this podcast, the whole reason I started talking about this in a long form way is because I'm talking about topics that are actively being worked on and people that I'm working with are being affected by. I'm not just pulling this out from random. A lot of this comes from real conversations that I have with real people and my clients and the people that I'm actively, helping in the business that I'm running. So it's important to me that, these topics get spoken about, because once you understand a calorie deficit, once you understand protein, once you understand the gym, it's a lot of just repeating. And once you get it down and you fully check that box, it's a lot of repetition. But the mental side of things, the psychology behind it, the philosophy, your own personal philosophy dives into it way more than you could ever really think, especially the longer you do it too. Because when you teach yourself how to improve yourself through fitness, through nutrition, training, cardio exercise, or any sort of form of self-development, it often leaks into other parts of your life. It often leaks into you becoming a better employee, a better business owner, a better creator if you're on social media, a better partner, a better husband, a better wife, etc., etc. So that's why I'm talking about these, and that's why I'm talking about the fear of failure and the fuck-its. So this all started, this whole idea came to me today when I was on the phone with a client a few weeks ago. This client's name is Nolan. I'm pretty sure he won't care that I shared his name. I'm not going to share his last name or anything, but I was on the phone with Nolan. Nolan is a really solid dude, really, really hard worker. And Nolan wants to be a bodybuilder. And Nolan needs to lose a significant amount of weight before he's stage ready. Most people do. Bodybuilding stage. Nolan has worked with me before in the past. He's an active client right now, looking to lose weight. He just told me today he's down 40 pounds. So we're cooking. However, the first time and this time, he had the same problem. He knows how to meal prep. He knows how to do the calories. He knows how to train like an animal. That's not his issue. His issue is he does this for about 1 to 2 months, and then he completely falls off. Not completely as in completely gives up for months on end, but he has a binge. He has a binge episode or a binge week where he just completely falls off the wagon. And sometimes it happens for a weekend. Sometimes it turns into a week or a month. And I had a very uncomfortable conversation with him, but that's sometimes what you need. Your quality, I firmly believe the quality of your life is entirely dictated by your ability to have difficult conversations, both with yourself and with the people around you. If you can get better at having difficult conversations, you are probably going to have a better life. And that's just a philosophy that I've lived by for a long time, and it has yet to fail me so far. I've had this difficult conversation with Nolan, and I said, you are, for all intents and purposes, outside of some extra muscle gain, in the exact same place you were 2 years ago. Why do you think that is? You clearly understand every part of calories. You understand the food. It's not that difficult once you get the science behind it. And it's a stretch to even call it, like, yes, it is science, but you don't have to understand it at a scientific level to excel. It's very simplistic once you get it. And he's like, I don't really know. I'm like, no, really think about it. What do you think is causing you to go so hard, burn out, and repeat the same process that's caused you to stay in the same place? You are working your tail off. You are burnt out in your career and in your gym. You are burning yourself out, but yet you are not seeing any lasting progress. Why do you think that is? And he finally really analyzed himself, and he thinks it comes from a fear of failure. I'm like, why do you keep expecting perfection out of yourself? He says it comes probably from a fear of failure. This is a big one because this is something that there's a lot of content out on social media now talking about, oh, just start. It's not going to be perfect. And that's true. That's all 100% correct advice. I completely believe in that. But there is an underlying fear of failure because failure is kind of the root emotion for anxiety, stress, etc. And when you're scared of failing, especially in a it's one thing to fail a test or screw up at a task at work. It's another thing. Failure with a capital F. When I say failure, I'm referring to not achieving like a life goal, not having a really, really, really big aspiration and never even coming close. That's what I'm talking about today. That's the kind of failure I'm speaking on. And I'm like, okay, why do you think you're afraid of failing? It's because Nolan has been heavy his whole life. Nolan has been a heavier guy, just like me, and just like the vast majority of the people that I work with. He's been heavy his whole life. And when you're heavy your whole life, the biggest thing once you become an adult is obviously I can't speak it for everybody, but my biggest motivators and his biggest motivator was to give himself the experience of liking and loving his body, right? Liking and loving his body and knowing what it feels like to walk around and being able to go to the beach and take his shirt off and be able to look in the mirror and actually like the way you look, for real. He wants to give that to himself because he's never really had it before. Okay, we found his why. We've established that. And he cares about this so much that he's working himself into the ground. And he's working himself so hard that he's sniffing the point of burnout. But what he's also coming close to is that true failure. Because he's so scared of it, he's becoming the one thing he wanted to avoid entirely. Because he develops the fuck it mentality. He develops oh man, I already went over my calories by 200. The day's already a wash. It's the black and white thinking. It's the success or failure thinking, green or red, right? It's either a good day or it's a bad day. There's never anything in between, which is obviously on paper an incredibly flawed way of thinking. But we all do it. You're watching this video, you do it in one aspect of your life or another. You might just not realize it yet. When you catch yourself doing it, you feel annoying. You feel mad at yourself. It's a maddening thing to catch yourself doing. But this is what's super common in people who are overweight. This is a very common occurrence in people who have struggled with their weight for their entire lives, because usually it's tied into some sort of emotional eating or binge eating or lack of consistency with exercise or the gym. Because once they start to sniff out failure, they say, F it, it's a bad day, whatever, it's hopeless, I might as well go do whatever the heck I want to do. And then that manifests into a 10,000 calorie cheat meal, right? That's just one example. Because they fear failure so much, they're pushing perfection upon themselves. And because they're pushing perfection upon themselves, they're burning themselves out, making mistakes, and then because they're so afraid of the failure, they completely adopt a black or white, fuck it, if it's not perfect, it's awful, might as well go completely off the rails mentality. Now, obviously, with binge eating specifically, in this example with food, there's a lot deeper of a relationship with food at play here. There's cravings, there's honoring those cravings. That's what I talk a lot about with my clients. All right, the rain and the storm has come back, so hopefully you guys don't hear some crazy thunder, but maybe you do. It'd be kind of cool. I like the thunder. Expecting perfection out of yourself is guaranteeing disappointment, and that's the ultimate manifestation of what was happening to Nolan. And it's also what was happening to me, too. Every time I tried to start a diet, I would be perfect for about a week, and then I would fall off. Because, strictly, it was too strict. Very bluntly, I was trying to do way too much. I was placing championship wow, I cannot talk today. Championship level expectations on myself when I was a rookie, when I was in my rookie year, right? Because I expected perfection, because I would compare myself to other people, and I would see how easy everybody else makes it look on social media. It is maddening when you are overweight and you scroll Instagram, TikTok, Vine back in the day, and you see people just magically losing these weight loss transformations overnight. And it makes it feel like it's overnight because that's what you're seeing. You're watching people's highlight reels, and it makes you feel like a low light all the time. So it puts a lot of extra expectations on yourself to go match that. When in reality, they aren't there. They have their own journeys. You have yours. But being so unadulteratedly scared and just horrified of failing your big picture to the point where you are placing these expectations on yourself, it's guaranteeing that you're basically never going to achieve what you want to achieve. You're getting in your own way. This is the biggest form of self-sabotage that I see most regularly, both within myself and within everybody else I talk to, within all of my team members, all of my clients, most of my family members, and a lot of my friends. You're setting way too high of expectations on yourself. Not to say that you cannot achieve this, but you are swinging for the fences when all you need to do is get on base. Stop trying to be a perfect bodybuilder. Stop trying to go to the gym 7 days a week. Stop getting upset when you post a post on social media you built up the courage to do and it only got 10 likes. You're placing expectations on yourself that only people who have been 5-10 years to master the skill can do. You are a beginner most of the time in these things that you want to achieve. If you have a big life goal, it's a big life goal for a reason. It's not supposed to be easy. Anything worth doing, to the point where we have to talk about it in this kind of setting, is not going to be easy, and there's guaranteed mistakes along the way. And one of the biggest things that I told Nolan, and one of the biggest things I want to tell you today, price your mistakes in. Like I said before, expecting perfection is guaranteeing your disappointment. If you are trying to be a perfect bodybuilder on this fitness journey, on any journey though, if you were trying to be the perfect creator, the perfect bodybuilder, the perfect husband, you're gonna screw up. You're either gonna do it imperfectly or you're not gonna do it at all. And that's how you have to start thinking about this. If you are stuck in the loop of binge restrict cycles or constantly restarting and never having the motivation to do something, whether for your own self, for your own self-development, for your own health, you have to price your mistakes in. You have to understand that, I want to be perfect. I know I'm not. And the only way I can get close to perfect, which never fucking existed in the first place, by the way, the only way you're ever going to get closer to the goal that you want is pricing the mistakes in and giving yourself grace and space to do it. Plan to screw up every once in a while. It's not life or death most of the time. And especially on something longer term like weight loss. Weight loss doesn't happen overnight. Even if you do everything perfectly, it's still going to take time. But there's also going to be days where you go out to eat and you have a little too much. There's going to be days where you have an old friend in town and you drink a little too much. There's going to be days where you hop on the scale and the weight goes up instead of down. You have to price those days in. You have to understand that those days are going to happen. No matter how hard you try, those days are guaranteed to happen. And the harder you try to avoid those days from happening, the more likely that they do. I've worked with 200 people as direct one-on-one clients. Think about going on a date with somebody every week with 200 somebodies. I'm saying this not to just make you feel better. I'm saying this because this is statistically the truth. Price mistakes in to your journey. Understand that in order to accomplish the goals that you actually want to accomplish, you are going to have screw-ups. You are going to fuck it up. When I was on my journey, when I was losing my weight, I made a pretty fat oopsie. For about 3 months, I went really overboard on the meal prepping, and I went really overboard on the exercise. I gave myself low blood pressure, and I fainted a lot. And one morning, I woke up, walked over to the bathroom, and fainted walking to the bathroom. And I tore my ACL. That is a ligament that if you tear it, you have a guaranteed surgery and 9-month recovery time. I couldn't walk or run properly for 9 months. When I got that news, I wanted to quit everything. I'd already lost most of the weight by then, but I said, what was the fucking point? I didn't price this in at all. I had family come and stay with me for 2 weeks during my journey. It was it was like my extended family. We cooked out every night. We went out to dinner all the time. That was a lot of calories. I didn't price that in. I was freaking myself out. And I weighed myself after they had all left. I gained like 1 pound. Which, guess what? 2 weeks later, never even happened. I didn't even price it in, but I knew I wasn't going to let it derail me. You have to be hard enough on yourself to show up every day, but not so hard to the point where if you fail, you just say fuck it. Because that is the biggest fallacy you could possibly come up with. And honestly, it usually stems, especially within binge eating, it usually stems within you're over restricting. You're not giving yourself what you want. You're not letting yourself have any fun. And if you are obsessed with chocolate ice cream and you love chocolate ice cream, it's your favorite food ever. You say no ice cream at all ever on this weight loss journey. Safe to say that there's a good chance you're going to have a day where you have a really bad day and that the ice cream's coming out and that lid's coming off and that spoon's getting grabbed and that carton's getting deleted, the whole thing. Also, if you ever buy a pint of ice cream and not like a full carton, if you have ever bought a pint of ice cream and not eaten it in one sitting, you're better than me. That's all I'm saying. But that's where I really ultimately wanted to touch base on today. This is what I told Nolan. I told him, expecting your perfection is guaranteeing your disappointment. And if you don't zoom out and you don't start to realize that what you are doing is not working, you are never going to see your goal. You are never going to achieve your goal if you continuously expect perfection out of yourself. You're either going to do it imperfectly or you're never going to achieve it. And then I asked him, how badly do you want to achieve this? He's like, I want to do this basically more than anything. I was like, I want to do this and I want to get married. Those are like my big life goals. And this doesn't have to be your big life goal. But you have to understand, to achieve anything great, you are going to screw up. And it is literally at the cost of not achieving it ever or doing it imperfectly. Think about how badly that is going to hurt if you are at the end of your life and you never got to achieve the weight loss that you wanted, or the feeling of walking on the beach with your shirt off, or the feeling of being confident in your own skin and wanting to take pictures with people. That's a new feeling that I'm still not 100% used to. I'm going to be honest with you. I've lost the weight for 4 years now. I'm still not like fully used to having my shirt off at the beach. But I love it. I love not being used to it. It's the coolest thing ever. And I smile thinking about it. And I'm super stoked for summer. I want you to be stoked for summer too. But that never happens. You will never achieve that until you start pricing your mistakes in and making it a part of the journey. This is especially important if this is something that you've wanted for a very long time. This is especially important if this is a goal that you're trying to achieve, that you've been trying to achieve for months or years. I tried for about 4 or 5 dedicated years trying to be perfect. And I got nowhere. I gained weight actively. I actively got heavier. I dug my hole deeper by trying to be perfect. And you really just need to zoom out a little bit and stop thinking days and weeks. You need to look at your journey from a top-down perspective, decades-wise, like decades long. You need to think about this. Do I want to have this at all? Or do I want it to take a little bit longer right now? But guarantee the fact that I get it if it just goes a little bit longer right now and then have it for the rest of my life. Or am I going to keep continuously, or am I going to continue to spin my wheels and fall on my ass again and again and again? Because you are never achieving it that way. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that this resonated with you. If you have any specific topics you would want my opinions on or you want me to dive into, I'm really looking into probably diving more into the specifics of weight loss tactics, stress eating tactics, lifting, cardio, If there's some specific execution stuff you guys want me to dive into, just drop it in the comments below. I'm trying to find a really solid balance here of balancing the mental health, self-awareness stuff with also the fitness stuff, because it all ties in together. It's all the same thing. The self-development, self-improvement, it's all connected. But I want to make sure you guys are getting what you need out of this. So if you guys do have any recommendations, then drop a like on this video, drop a comment on this video, tell me what you want to see next. I hope you have a fantastic day. I love you to death. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new, and keep it simple, big fella.